Her father missed every birthday, until one letter changed everything. Sophie stopped expecting anything on her birthday the year she turned 16, but part of her still checked the mailbox anyway. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe if you love meaningful stories, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I really enjoy seeing where these stories travel. She told her friends it didn't matter. Told her mom not to bother with cake. They ordered takeout and watched a movie like any other night. There were a few texts from people at school, a card from her aunt. Her mom handed her a gift card in an envelope with a hug that lasted a few seconds longer than usual. But that morning, when Sophie had checked her phone, she still hoped. And like every year before, there was nothing from him. Her father had missed every single birthday. Not just forgotten, missed. No calls, no cards, no explanation. She used to cry about it. Then she got quiet. Then she stopped bringing his name up altogether. By the time she turned 18, it was easier. She told herself it was just another day. She spent it with 2 friends who didn't ask questions. She took a walk by herself that evening and let the wind chill her skin. She didn't scroll through old photos like she used to. She didn't play the voicemail he left 6 years ago that she still hadn't deleted. When she got home, the porch light was on. Her mom was in the kitchen washing dishes. The house smelled like lemon soap and leftover pizza. And in the mailbox was a letter. No return address. Just her name in careful handwriting on the front. She stared at it for a while before opening it. Her mom asked if anything came in the mail. Sophie said no and walked upstairs, the envelope tucked tight in her jacket pocket. She sat on the edge of her bed and turned the envelope over 3 times before sliding her finger beneath the flap. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, folded once. No card, no cash, no decorations, just words. She read it slowly. Dear Sophie, I know I don't have the right to write to you. I've earned your silence. I missed too many birthdays. Too many things. I've been sober 4 years now. I didn't want to reach out until I had something to say that didn't come from guilt or excuses. You don't have to forgive me. I just want you to know I think about you every day. Happy 18th. You deserve a better father than I was. Ben. She read it twice. Then again, he didn't even sign it Dad. Just Ben. She sat there for a long time, the paper resting in her lap. It wasn't what she expected. She wasn't even sure she believed it. But there was something different in the tone. No promises, no big gestures. Just quiet truth. She thought she'd feel angry or sad. Instead, she felt unsure, and that might have been the most honest feeling of all. She folded the letter back up and slipped it between the pages of a book on her nightstand. She didn't cry. She didn't tell anyone. But she didn't throw it away either. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the light from her phone screen fading beside her. And for the first time in years, she imagined what it might feel like to write back. Sophie kept the letter hidden for a week, not because she was ashamed, but because she didn't know what to do with it. She had read it 3 more times since that night. Once in the morning before school, once in the back of the library during lunch, and again late at night when she couldn't sleep. The words didn't change, but how they felt did. At first, they landed with disbelief, then curiosity, and finally, something softer. Not forgiveness, but recognition. She didn't mention it to her mom until the following Saturday. They were folding laundry in the living room. The TV was on, low. Her mom was matching socks, trying to make a dent in the growing pile of clothes. Sophie sat cross-legged on the carpet, staring at a wrinkled t-shirt that didn't belong to her anymore, but still smelled like her childhood. "I got a letter," she said, not looking up. Her mom didn't respond right away. Then softly, "From him?" Sophie nodded. "Yeah." Her mom didn't move. She just placed a pair of socks aside and looked at her. "What did it say?" "He's sober now, 4 years. Said he doesn't want anything. Just wanted me to know." Her mom kept her expression neutral, but Sophie could see something flicker behind her eyes. "Do you believe him?" she asked. Sophie shrugged. "I don't know. I didn't think I'd feel anything, but I didn't throw it away." Her mom nodded slowly. "That's your choice. Whatever you decide." "He didn't sign it Dad. He just wrote Ben." Her mom gave a small, understanding smile. "That sounds about right." They didn't talk much more about it. The laundry got finished. The TV kept playing. But something had shifted between them. Not in a bad way, just different. Like there was now a third chair in the room that hadn't been there before. That night, Sophie sat at her desk and pulled out a blank sheet of paper. She stared at it for 15 minutes before writing a single word. "Hi." She paused, crossed it out, started over. She tried again, wrote 4 lines and threw them away. By the end of the week, she had written 5 versions. All of them ended up in the trash. But on Sunday night, she tried again and didn't stop. "Ben, I got your letter. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about it. I didn't think you'd ever write. I'm not sure if I believe everything you said. But I read it. And it mattered. I don't know what comes next. But I wanted you to know I'm alive. I graduated last spring. I've started college. Here's a photo. I don't know what else to say. Sophie." She printed a picture taken on the day she walked across the stage. She was smiling in it. Not because of him, but because that moment had been hers. Still, something about including it felt right. She folded the letter around the photo, sealed it in an envelope, and didn't write a return address. Just his name. Just the words, "For Ben" on the front. She mailed it Monday morning before class. No one was with her. She didn't say anything aloud. She dropped the envelope into the blue mailbox and walked away. She didn't feel lighter. She didn't feel heavier either. But she felt like something had been acknowledged, and that was enough for now. 3 weeks passed and nothing came. Sophie checked the mailbox every day, but never for long. Just a glance, quick and quiet. Her mom never asked about it, and Sophie didn't bring it up again. The letter she sent felt like something she had released into the world with no guarantee of return. Like a message in a bottle. You send it because you have to, not because you expect to be found. She told herself she was fine with that. Told herself that one letter was enough, that she didn't need more. But she kept thinking about it anyway. During lectures, she'd catch herself wondering if he even read it. If he recognized her face in the photo, if he'd put it somewhere or thrown it away. She wondered what his apartment looked like. If he still drank coffee black. If he still wore that leather jacket he always said made him feel like a movie character. There were pieces of him she remembered, even when she didn't want to. And there were others she couldn't remember at all. The 4th week came, and with it, a cold Monday morning. Sophie came home from class tired, her jacket damp from the rain, her hair sticking to the side of her neck. She stopped by the mailbox on instinct, barely expecting anything. Inside was a single envelope, same handwriting as before, her name written carefully across the front. She didn't open it right away. She held it in her hand all the way up the stairs, set it on her desk, sat across from it like it might change if she stared long enough. Finally, she opened it. "Dear Sophie, I read your letter 5 times before I could write this. Thank you for the photo. You looked proud. You should be. It's on my fridge now. It makes the place feel more alive. I wasn't sure if you'd write back. I told myself it was okay if you didn't. But when I saw that envelope, I sat down right there in the lobby and read it. Twice. You don't owe me anything, but I hope you'll let me keep writing. I'd like to tell you some things I never said when I should have. No pressure, just hope. Ben. That was all. No gifts, no questions, just a quiet request. Sophie sat back in her chair and stared at the letter in her hands. It was strange how something that short could still take up so much space inside her. She didn't cry. She didn't smile either. But her chest felt tight, the kind of tight that comes before you figure out what something means. She placed the letter beside the first one in her desk drawer. She didn't respond right away. But the next week, she sat in the campus cafe, opened her notebook, and began writing again. Nothing big, just an update. She told him about her roommate, who left dishes in the sink, about the professor who made them laugh even when the lectures dragged, about how she still wasn't sure what to study, but that maybe that was okay. No big words, no dramatic sentences, just small things, things you share when you're trying to be known without rushing it. She mailed it 2 days later. Still no return address. Still unsure if she was doing the right thing. But she knew this much. She wanted him to keep writing, and for now, that was enough. The letters kept coming. Not every week, but enough that Sophie started to expect them. Not in the way you expect a delivery, but more like the way you notice a quiet rhythm forming. Something steady. Something new. Ben's handwriting was always the same. Neat, but careful, like he took his time with each word. He never apologized twice. He never tried to explain too much. He just told her about his days, about the people at his job who called him old man, even though he wasn't that old, about the dog he sometimes walked for his neighbor, a beagle named Maxie, who hated rain and loved ham. He talked about his favorite coffee shop, about the way the owner had started giving him a free muffin on Fridays. They weren't dramatic letters, nothing that would turn into a movie, but they were real. And something about their simplicity made Sophie feel like maybe this wasn't about repairing the past. Maybe it was about beginning from here. She wrote back. Not always right away. Sometimes it took her a few days to figure out what to say, but she answered every letter. She told him about a class she hated but couldn't drop, about her new part-time job at the campus bookstore, about how she was learning to make pasta from scratch, though it always came out uneven. She included a photo of the lopsided fettuccine with the words, "Progress, not perfection," written underneath. One afternoon, a new envelope arrived with something extra inside, a small picture of a birdhouse. Just the birdhouse. Simple. Unpainted. Sitting on what looked like a porch railing. There was a note tucked in behind it. Made this in my woodworking class. First time I've built anything since high school. It's not perfect, but it stands. Thought you'd want to see. She stared at it longer than she meant to. He'd built something. And for some reason, he wanted her to know. She wrote back that night. It looks sturdy. I like that you're learning things. That's what I'm trying to do too. Figuring stuff out, one awkward step at a time. She almost signed it with love, but didn't. Instead, she wrote simply, Sophie. Later that week, her mom knocked on her bedroom door with laundry in her arms and asked gently, Are you still writing? Sophie nodded. Yeah. Her mom set the basket down. Do you feel okay about that? I don't know, Sophie said, but I don't feel wrong about it. Her mom gave a small nod and didn't press further. They didn't have to talk about everything. Some things just sat between them quietly. One night, Sophie sat by her window and read through every letter she'd received so far. There weren't that many, but each one felt like it had taken years to arrive. She noticed the way his sentences had changed slightly. Less guarded. More real. Still careful, but not stiff. It made her wonder what kind of man he had become. Not the version she remembered from scattered childhood memories, but the one he was trying to show her now. She still didn't call him Dad. She didn't know if she ever would. But she folded the most recent letter, placed it in the box where she kept them all, and knew without question she would write again tomorrow. Sophie woke up the morning of her 19th birthday and didn't feel any different. No big shift, no sudden clarity, just another slow Saturday, quiet and gray outside, with a chill in the air that made her stay under the blanket longer than usual. Her phone buzzed once, then again. A few messages from friends, a couple of birthday wishes in a group chat. Nothing fancy. She got up, made coffee, and sat on the edge of her bed scrolling through pictures from last year. One of her favorites was still the one from graduation, the one she'd sent him. She hadn't heard from Ben in 3 weeks. No letter, no photo, no mention of the birthday coming. She told herself not to expect anything. But she still checked the mailbox. There it was. Same handwriting, same plain envelope, a little thicker than usual. She walked back to her room without opening it, sat on her bed, holding it in both hands, let the moment stretch. Then slowly, she peeled the flap open. Inside was a folded letter and a small card, the kind you buy in a box with a dozen others like it. On the front were 3 balloons and the words, "Happy Birthday," in faded print. She opened the card first. It said simply, "I didn't forget this time." Nothing more. She unfolded the letter. "Sophie, I know I missed 18 of these. That's more than I'll ever deserve to make up for. But today I get to show you I remembered. I don't have the words to explain what it means to get this chance. Even if it's small, even if it's just 1 card and a letter. I made another birdhouse. It's painted this time, red with a blue roof. I carved your initials into the bottom, not because you asked, just because I wanted to. It sits outside my window, still hoping maybe you'll visit one day. But for now, this is me showing up, and I will keep showing up. Happy birthday. Ben." She read it twice, then 3 times. Her hand rested on the corner of the envelope without thinking. Her thumb brushed the edge of the card. The words weren't elaborate. He didn't try too hard. He didn't try to sound perfect. He just remembered. For once, he remembered. She placed the letter carefully in the box with the others, then picked up her phone and opened a blank message. No pressure. No big expectations. Just a message. Thank you for remembering. The card meant a lot. The birdhouse sounds great. Maybe I will visit. Not yet. But maybe. S. She stared at it for a while, then hit send. There was no instant reply, and she didn't need one. That afternoon her mom made dinner. Just the 2 of them. No party, no candles. But when her mom handed her a small gift bag, there was a second envelope tucked inside. Her mom smiled. "This one came yesterday. Figured I'd hold it till today." Sophie opened it slowly. Inside was a photo. It was a picture of her and Ben. She was 4 years old, sitting on his shoulders, her hair in pigtails, both of them laughing. She didn't remember the moment, but he had. On the back of the photo were 6 words. "You've always been worth showing up for." Sophie stared at it for a long time, and for the first time on her birthday, She felt like someone meant it. The photo stayed on her desk for a week before Sophie moved it. Not because she didn't like looking at it, but because every time she did, it stirred something in her chest she couldn't quite explain. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't exactly joy either. It was just layered, complicated. The kind of feeling that makes you sit still for a while before doing anything else. She eventually placed it inside her letterbox, the one where she kept every envelope he'd sent. She didn't show it to anyone else. Not her roommate, not her friends, not even her mom. It felt like something private, like it didn't need to be talked about to matter. The letters continued, slowly but steadily. Every few weeks, a new envelope would show up, always handwritten, always just long enough to say something real. He told her about a new project he was working on, building a bench from reclaimed wood he found behind a hardware store. Said he'd sanded it down so smooth it felt like glass. She sent back a photo of her favorite place on campus, a small courtyard with 3 benches and a tree in the center that bloomed late. She told him how she liked to sit there when the day felt heavy, how the quiet helped her breathe. He replied with a sketch of the bench he built. It wasn't professional, but it was neat and detailed. He labeled the parts, wrote small notes beside each one, like he wanted her to know exactly how it came together. She found herself smiling more when she opened his letters now. The space between them was still there, but it didn't feel sharp anymore. It felt like a pause, a breath, something they were both learning how to fill with pieces of a connection that didn't exist before. One afternoon, she was walking back from class when her phone buzzed. Just once. A message. Hope your week's going okay. Just mailed something. No pressure to write back.
Just thinking of you. B.
She stood on the sidewalk for a moment, staring at the screen, then typed, slowly. Thanks for the note. This week's been long. That message helped. S. She pressed send without overthinking it. That night, she pulled out the old letters again, read a few in order, not to analyze them, just to remind herself how far they'd come. The first one was still the hardest to read, the one where he said he'd missed everything, where he signed it Ben instead of Dad. Now, in the most recent ones, he had started writing just his initials. B, still not asking for a title, still not assuming he'd earned one. She noticed the change, though, and part of her didn't mind. The letter he sent that week arrived on Thursday. Inside was a smaller envelope tucked inside the usual one. She opened it carefully. Inside was a note. For when you're ready, only when you want to. No expectations. B. And beneath it, a printed card with his phone number written in pen. No pressure, just an open door. Sophie sat with the card in her hand for a long time, then placed it gently into the box with the others. Not because she was ready to call, but because, for the first time, she didn't feel like she had to decide right away. Some doors don't need to be walked through immediately. Sometimes it's enough just to know they're open. Sophie waited almost 3 weeks before she picked up the phone. Not because she didn't want to, but because the idea of hearing his voice made it all feel more real. Letters were easier. You could pause between words. You could take your time. A phone call didn't work like that. It was now or nothing. And she wasn't sure what to say if he answered. She called on a Tuesday, late afternoon. Her classes were done, and she was sitting on the edge of her bed, the number already typed in, her thumb hovering over the call button. She pressed it before she could talk herself out of it. It rang once, then twice. She hung up. No voicemail, no message. Just ended the call and dropped the phone beside her. 15 minutes passed before she picked it up again. This time she let it ring, and on the 4th ring, he answered. Hello? His voice was quieter than she remembered. Not weak, but cautious, like someone still surprised by hope. "Hi," she said. "It's me." There was a long pause. Not uncomfortable, just quiet. "Hi, Sophie." She wasn't sure what she expected. Maybe more words, maybe none. "I almost didn't call," she said. "I almost didn't answer," he replied. "But I'm glad you did." She let out a small laugh. "Me too." They talked for 7 minutes. Not about anything big, just small pieces. She told him about the campus cat everyone loved, how it sat outside the library like it was on staff. He told her about Maxie, the neighbor's dog, who had recently chewed through one of his gloves. She could hear the smile in his voice when he said it. He didn't try to explain the past. He didn't bring up the birthdays or the missed years, and she didn't ask. When the call ended, he said, "Thanks for calling, Sophie." She didn't say goodbye. Just, "Talk soon." And she meant it. 2 days later, he called her. She didn't answer on the first ring, but she did on the second. This time, they talked for 11 minutes. A week after that, she saved his number in her phone under his name. Not Dad, not yet, just Ben. And that felt right. Their calls weren't frequent, just every now and then. But when they did talk, it wasn't awkward anymore. It was steady, measured, like they were building something, not rushing it. She still kept the letters, still read them sometimes when her chest felt tight or the day had been long, but the voice on the other end of the line had started to matter just as much. One evening, after a long shift at the bookstore, she sat on the steps outside her apartment and called him just to say hi. He answered on the first ring. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "Just wanted to talk for a minute." He didn't ask why. He just listened. And when they hung up, he said the same words he always did now. "Take care, Sophie." 2 weeks later, she sent him a message without any reason at all. "Just thinking about the photo you sent me. It's weird. I don't remember it. But I believe you do. Thanks for keeping it." The reply came an hour later. "I remember everything from that day. You wore those purple shoes you wouldn't take off for a month. You called the ice cream man your best friend. You laughed like you owned the whole world. I'm trying to remember it all right now, just in case you ask again." She didn't reply right away, but she saved the message. And when she read it again later that night, she realized something had changed. She wasn't just remembering. She was beginning to trust. Sophie hadn't planned on visiting. Not yet. Not this soon. But her spring break plans fell through, and the idea came quietly. No big moment. No long debate. Just a thought that stayed with her. By the time she told him, she'd already booked the ticket. She sent the message on a Wednesday. "I'm off next week. If you're around, maybe we could meet. Only if you're up for it." His reply came 2 hours later. "I'm here. Always up for it. Just tell me when, and I'll be there." She didn't tell many people. Her roommate knew. Her mom, of course. There was no big send-off, no long conversation. Her mom just nodded when Sophie said she wanted to go. "I think it's time," Sophie said. "I think it's your time," her mom replied. The morning of the trip, Sophie woke early, packed light. Just a backpack and a sweater she hadn't worn since high school. The train ride was quiet, long enough to overthink, short enough that she didn't. Ben was waiting when she arrived. She saw him before he saw her. Standing near the edge of the platform, hands in his jacket pockets, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. He looked older than she remembered, but not in a bad way, just real. When their eyes met, neither of them moved right away. Then he gave a small nod, and she walked toward him. "Hi," she said. "Hi, Sophie." No hug, No tears. Just the shared understanding that this moment mattered more than anything they could say. He drove her to his apartment. It was small, clean, a few books on the shelf, a pair of worn boots by the door. On the fridge, held by a single magnet, was the graduation photo she'd sent him almost a year ago. Next to it, a new one, her college ID, printed from the school's website. She looked at it, then looked at him. He didn't explain. He didn't need to. They sat on the porch later that afternoon. 2 folding chairs, a breeze just strong enough to keep the air moving. He brought out lemonade and a wooden box. "I made this," he said, placing it between them. "Didn't know what to put in it, so I figured I'd wait and ask." Sophie opened the lid. Empty inside, smooth, smelled faintly of cedar. She ran her fingers along the edge. "It's nice," she said. He nodded. "I just wanted to make something for you, something that didn't come too late." They sat for a long while, talking about small things. She told him about her favorite professor. He told her how the woman at the corner store called him by name now. Neither of them said the word sorry. It wasn't needed. Later he went inside and came back with a photo. It was the 2 of them, taken when she was 4. She was sitting on his shoulders, laughing. He was mid-step, both hands holding her feet. He'd shown her this one before, but now she was holding the original. "I kept it," he said. "All these years. Every move. Every place." She turned it over. On the back, in faded ink, were the words, "Sophie, Summer." She said she didn't want to come down, so I didn't let her. Her throat tightened. She didn't speak. She just folded the photo, gently, and placed it inside the wooden box. They didn't need to call it forgiveness. They didn't need to define anything that day. But sitting there in the quiet, next to a man who had learned to show up late but steady, she realized something simple. She wasn't just visiting. She had been found. Sophie stood at the train station the next morning, ticket in hand, backpack over one shoulder. The sun was still low, casting long lines across the platform. She hadn't slept much, but she didn't feel tired, just quiet, like something inside her had settled. Ben stood beside her, hands in his jacket pockets, like the day before. Neither of them said much on the drive, not because there was nothing to say, but because nothing needed to be rushed. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt earned. He looked over at her. "I'm glad you came." She nodded. "Me too." A voice came over the loudspeaker, calling passengers for the northbound train. She still had a few minutes, long enough for one more moment, but not long enough to stretch it out. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. "I was going to mail this," he said, "but since you're here..." She took it from his hand. It was a card. Inside he had written only one line. "I missed every birthday, but I won't miss what's next." Underneath it, he signed his name. Not Ben, just Dad. She looked up. He didn't explain it. He didn't ask her to say it back. She didn't. But she didn't correct him either. She placed the card gently into the pocket of her backpack, then looked back toward the tracks. The train was pulling in, slow, steady, the way things moved when they weren't in a hurry anymore. She turned back to him. "I'm not sure what this is yet," she said. "What it'll turn into." He nodded once. "Me neither. But I don't want it to stop." "It won't," he said. She stepped forward and, without thinking too much, hugged him. It wasn't long. It wasn't dramatic. But it was real. He hugged her back. When she stepped onto the train, she found a window seat and didn't look at her phone right away. She watched the platform until it disappeared. until he disappeared, until all she could see was the sky and the horizon starting to open up. The wooden box was tucked in her backpack. So was the photo. So was the card. She took out her notebook and flipped to a blank page, then started writing. Not to him, not to herself. Just a letter with no name at the top. A letter about what it feels like when something broken starts to heal. When someone shows up not to fix the past, but to earn a future. When forgiveness isn't asked for, but quietly invited.
Her birthday next year would come, and maybe it wouldn't be perfect.
But she knew something now that she didn't used to.
It's not about the candles or the cake or even the day itself.
It's about who remembers.
And who shows up.
And this time, someone had. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy meaningful stories like this, we'd love to have you as a subscriber.